Boom! We are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Wintroud. Seth is coming us live with a new setup right now. Can you all hear him? All right.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. All
It's
right. Hope
coming
so.
great on my side, so I hope it's coming good on yours. All right. We first of all, big thanks to Electrify America sponsoring the show again next week. We're gonna have more to say about their charging network later on the show. Stay tuned for that. It's a little lighter on news this week for the Electrek Podcast. It just wasn't a big news week for electric vehicle stuff. Still have a few cool items to discuss, and we're gonna start with Tesla as usual. But if you have any questions for us to answer, talk about some subjects you want us to discuss, put them in the comments right now, and we're gonna get to them sooner than we usually do in the show. So it's gonna be a longer Q&A session, maybe at the end. We'll see, depending on if we get some good questions. But let's start out with next Tuesday that I had yesterday about Tesla service. So this is something that we always like to see, but we got some good sources that tells us that Tesla announced this week internally that they're gonna make a push for a lot more service next year. So it's a concern that we had with if you look at the pace of the growth of Tesla's deliveries and you compare them to the growth of service, there's a big discrepancy there. It's not too bad when you factor in the fact that Tesla is improving quality to a degree. I mean, with what we've seen with the Model Y more recently, it's not the greatest example, but for even throughout the Model Y ramp up, maybe now in the last few months it has changed, but Tesla was still delivering a lot more Model 3s than anything else, and the Model 3 quality did improve. And if you improve quality, then it affects the service capacity is less affected by it. So you don't need to have exactly the same growth of deliveries and service if you have improvement in qualities. But if you look at the discrepancy here, over the last 12 months, Tesla's deliveries grow about 50% year over year and added 500,000 cars to the fleet. So we've been talking about like Tesla delivering 500,000 cars in 2020. But if you look at the trailing 12 months, Tesla already did that. So that's something to important to note, I'd say. But if you look at the service center growth, it grew only 12% over that period. And also the mobile service fleet grew too, to be fair, but only 8%. So what we heard this week is Tesla told internal staff that they plan to open at least one new service center a week in 2021. If you remember, since last year, like Elon has been talking about a big oversight on service capacity, saying that it's something that Tesla missed. They didn't match their growth with their service capacity, and they were planning to rectify that problem. We haven't seen much of that over the last year, except for last quarter. Last quarter was pretty good. They added about 20 service centers, so that's almost on pace around once. It's even higher than once a week. A quarter is 12 weeks. Yeah, no, a little bit more than that. 13 weeks.
It's a little bit more than 12 weeks because 3 months times 4 weeks.
Yeah, so yeah, about yeah. And they added about 20 service center there. Now they had 466, but adding over 52, and it's over one per week, so it's going to be over 52. We're taking closer to 60. That's a big jump for Tesla's current capacity, and also I assume they're going to add mobile service vehicle also.
Yeah, and something I'd like to add locally here in Westchester, New York, they are replacing, or they're adding a huge service center and sales center that like dwarfs what's currently available. So if we think about it in terms of like superchargers, the first superchargers were like 8 or whatever here and there, and then more recently they've put up those 40, 50 places like Kettleman in California. I think the service centers are going to start becoming huge, or at least a lot bigger, because the amount of vehicles that they need to deal with are a much bigger amount. At least, I mean, I can say that at least in Westchester,
Oh
that's
no,
the
no,
case.
no! You're right. That is a trend for Tesla right now. They're going with bigger real estate, and that's what they're looking for. They're really looking to take over some of former dealerships and stuff like that. They're going after the big ones that failed and taking over. So that's good. Same we saw the same thing here. They just opened one in Laval, just north of Montreal, and it's a big one too. So and Montreal already had a big one, but it was the only one for a long time. Last year they opened one in Quebec City, so that helped too. But it's pretty far. So. Now we're seeing more of that too. The one in Tulsa that they opened was just a few weeks ago was massive. So it's a trend for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna opening more capacity is gonna have a big impact because if you are a Tesla owner and you ever had it varies greatly in different markets, but in many markets, if you had to take an appointment with service centers, it's not rare to get weeks behind, sometime even over a month behind. More recently, when my Model S failed, I was given like 3 weeks in Quebec for appointment, and over a month in Montreal. Fortunately, they accelerated the whole that since it was an urgent matter. But uh, other than that, like if I was taking like a regular appointment, that would have been the wait time, which is obviously not ideal. Oh yeah, this one was a weird one here that we learned this week. A lot of more recent Tesla owners throughout the entire lineup. So it's we're getting mixed report for Model 3, Model Y, but we're getting a lot of reports for Model S and X that seems confirmed. Maybe there's a transition still going for Model 3 and Y, but Tesla is removing the option of having low regenerative braking. So if you're familiar, most people are familiar with regenerative braking, where the motor will turn the kinetic energy into to recharge the battery pack and slow down the vehicle in the process. It's a very useful feature for efficiency, for also longevity of your actual physical brakes. But it's something that sort of require a little bit of a learning curve for people that are new to electric cars, especially people who've never driven a stick shift before, and like because with the stick shift you can downshift, and that gives you a similar feel to a strong regenerative braking. Um, so because of that, most automakers that produce electric vehicles will have a set of options for regenerative braking. I really like Tesla. That was a simple one, just standard that has a higher strength of the regenerative braking, and low option that has a lower strength. That was it. A lot of automakers have very complicated option. I mean, you're a long time Bolt driver. The Bolt options were kind of crazy with the paddle too. And how many options did you have? Two
So there are
or
two options, but they could be used in various combinations.
yeah,
So if you had both down, you were pretty much like skidding the tires almost.
yeah.
So it's Tesla's was never quite that hardcore.
Yeah, and there's different approaches for a bunch of different automakers, but Tesla was a pretty simple one, standard and low. Now they're removing the low options on new cars, which is interesting. And to be clear, it's they're not. It looks like Tesla is being careful not to take away the option for people that had it before. So if your car was delivered with the option, so you're safe with a new software update. Tesla is not removing that, but if you are taking delivery of a new car, you might not have the option. That's what a lot of people are reporting. It's just not there. So, of course, with us less communication now being basically shut down to external parties, we cannot ask the reason why. So we have to speculate. So I don't know about you. So of course, with the standard one, it's more efficient. So it might be what Tesla is going after, just locking in that efficiency. But I mean, it's called standard. I would assume that most people use it in standard. The low was really just maybe at the beginning for a learning curve, and then maybe you shift to it. And the other thing that I know a lot of people were using it from is especially here in the northeast. If there was snow, Some people didn't like the aggressive regenerative braking. They felt like it was riskier, the more chance of sliding if you let go of the accelerator and there's already braking happening. So they would put it on low when there were slippery conditions, where there was snow or ice or even maybe some rain. Personally, I never felt the need to do that, but I always felt like you just have to go with good winter tires. If you have good winter tires, you're generally fine. I asked a few other Tesla owners here about it, and most people told me like, no, they don't even do that. But I've heard it for sure. I know it's a thing. So some people like think it's weird for Tesla to remove that option if it's used partly as a safety feature. But my theory, and I'd like to hear if you have your one, is that Tesla might have received too many complaints from people that were complaining about the range, and then they found out that most of the people were using low regenerative braking, and then they're like, let's just remove that option for people. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I had heard something. I read it somewhere that that if they left the standard on, then the EPA would test it with the standard and not the regenerative, which, I have no idea if that's true. It doesn't sound very true.
The standard is standard. It comes standard like that. So I would assume the EPA would test that.
Right. So yeah, honestly, I don't think that, I don't think that most people who ride a Tesla over a long period of time turn it off for, any reason. So to me, it's like, why even have that option? Like, just learn how to use regenerative braking and then just go. And then, there's people who drive the Chevy Bolt who never knew about the regen mode because you have to go back twice.
Mm-hmm.
They've been driving it for 2 or 3 years, and they just like, oh, I had no idea. I thought you were just supposed to use the paddle or whatever. Like, not everybody's like, reads car sites like all of you guys, but I think it's probably just simplifying for people.
Yeah, that makes sense too. It's just, I'm a fan of some options at least. Like I thought it was already a simple one for Tesla compared to the rest of the industry. So like removing that, I thought was strange. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that trend long term, because again, we're not exactly sure of everything is happening at this point. Oh, the Model 3 2021, and also one version of the Model Y, I think. They got their EPA rating, their official EPA rating. So we reported on that already earlier this month, that Tesla updated the full lineup for 2021. And they released a longer range. And a lot of that was apparently achieved through an efficiency package. So an improvement in efficiency and not adding more energy capacity inside the car. So Tesla is basically extending its efficiency lead. And that was confirmed with the EPA numbers now, with the Model 3 2021 long-range all-wheel drive getting 134 in what they call mile per gallon equivalent. And the long-range Model Y all-wheel drive got 125. So for the Model 3, that's an improvement from 121 mpge. So it's a significant improvement here. And if you look at it, they haven't tested a lot of 2021 electric cars just yet, but you can see that Tesla clearly takes the lead here.
Yeah, it's actually like they had the lead before, and now it's just growing and growing. It's, when you compare like Tesla's Model X, which is a huge vehicle, and it gets just slightly worse energy efficiency than the Mini Cooper, for instance. It's 111 and 108 there. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. I bet the Model X weighs almost double what the Mini Cooper does.
Well, that might be the actual problem. It might. I don't know the actual weight of the Mini Cooper, but it might be heavier than you think for what it should be. It should be probably half the weight,
right?
But it might not be,
right? Because it wasn't purpose built to be an electric car.
Yeah. It wasn't the latest generation of BMW's EV technology that's coming first in the iX3. The Mini Cooper was like sort of a in between that they put together. Probably because people were complaining so much that they didn't have
Anything.
electric.
Right.
But, yeah. If you look at the difference here between 2021, that's right. The Model Y was getting the same MPGE as the Model 3 in 2020, and the Model Y got just a tiny bump for a 121 to 125. But I mean, that's still impressive because I mean, they just started. The 2020 was being delivered in March of this year. Started being delivered in March, and now we are in October, and the 2021 model already improved in efficiency. And of course, all those efficiency come with bumps and range, but we've already discussed those earlier this month. 353 for the Model 3 and 326 for the Model Y.
Do you think the heat pump, the octavalve, is responsible for the Model 3, the new Model 3 getting a better range?
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, that's what we're hearing. And I thought for what we have from other automakers to 2021, I thought it was interesting because it's pretty much like the direct competitors here with the Model 3. You have the Polestar 2. Though you could argue Polestar 2 might compete with Model Y too because it does have a hatchback.
Doesn't matter though. Either one, it's way
Yeah,
behind.
yeah. If you look at 134 to 92 for the Polestar, for the Model Y, 125 to the XC40, which is a clear Model Y competitor. 79, but we discussed that too. The Volvo XC40, really not a very efficient car for what it is. It just get 208 miles of range. I mean, I think it's still good, and if you like the car, you can get a lot of 200 miles of range. But I'm just saying 4 kilowatt hour per kilowatt hour. It's just not very efficient. All right. Moving on. Oh yeah, I thought it was very interesting. Seeing a little trend here too that we might discuss. The Panasonic released their Q3 earnings this week, and during the conference call that followed the earnings, they discussed the Tesla business, of course, at Gigafactory Nevada, and they mentioned that they're gonna build a new pilot production line for the 4680 Tesla battery cells. So it's something that Tesla didn't confirm at the battery day. They were pretty much just talking about their own production capacity that they're going to deploy for those new battery cells. But they did say that they were open to work with other people. And we heard, if you remember last week, about LG Chem. Apparently, well, they didn't say like that, but they talked about the battery cell that sounded just like the 4680, and they said they're going to build capacity to build that. So we're surprised by that. And now we have Panasonic that confirms that they're building a production line at the Gigafactory Nevada for the cells. So an interesting development here. What it really is, I think it's validation for Tesla's new cell technology, tabless design, and the production for it, because they designed the whole production processes for it. So Tesla was not a battery manufacturer, getting some validation for a long time, massive battery manufacturer, Panasonic, and what we're LG Chem hinting to it too. So I thought that was encouraging news for this new battery capacity. And of course, we know that the 4680 is just Tesla needs it for a lot of the vehicle programs that are coming, the Cybertruck, the Tesla Semi, even the Model Y in Berlin. All those vehicles are going to be completely dependent on that battery cell. So we need to see some progress on Tesla bringing it to production, or now apparently Panasonic too. Oh yeah, that came out last night. That was interesting too. So a bunch of Tesla owners in California received this message from Tesla that says, planning to travel this weekend? Avoid the rush and charge for 9 cents per kilowatt hour before 9 a.m. and after 9 p.m. at select California Supercharger on October 31st and November 1st. Sorry. This weekend, tap the Supercharger map pin for the in-car touchscreen to find a participating location or view charge rates. So Tesla is literally offering limited time discount for Supercharger for the first time. What I think what it looks like is Tesla testing the waters for seeing if they can incentivize owners to charge off-peak to avoid demand charges. So for people not aware, the demand charges, which apply throughout the electric utilities industry, but for charging station operators, it is a big cost because, as you can imagine, the discrepancy between the peak and the lows at the charging station are quite significant, because sometimes there's just no car charging at all, and sometimes you have several car charging at over 100 kilowatt charge rate. So during those peaks, if you catch one of those peaks, it the costs become extremely high for the operator. And we talked to Electrify America last month, and they told us that some places start charging 30 to 40 per kilowatt in demand charges. So imagine if you have 3 cars charging at over 200 kilowatt at the same time during that peak. It's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
I mean, if I were Tesla, I would just put a couple batteries at each one so that.
Well, that's what Electrify America is doing with Tesla power packs. Apparently, Tesla has done it too at a few stations, but from what we're hearing, like, Electrify America is doing more of that than they are.
Right. Strangely.
which is strange, because Electrify America is doing it with Tesla's battery packs.
Right.
Maybe Tesla is like testing the water with it, but like Electrify America, and they're like, all right, guys, do it and tell us if it's if it makes sense financially. So if Tesla can convince people to not charging those times in the off peak, then it benefits them for avoiding those demand charges, and also they can avoid just too much traffic at the supercharger, which sometimes can be a problem. But the fact that it's only for this weekend, and this weekend is not really supposed to be a high travel weekend, right? Like,
right, and it's not super hot, so there's not going to be like a super peak
So it looks more like test if they can incentivize people to do that, because at the same time, is it planning to travel this weekend? I mean, if you're traveling, which is the main use of the supercharger network, it's for long distance travel. You don't really have that much say into when you're gonna charge. Based on your trip, you're like, oh, I need to be at this charging station there, this charging station there, and unless you're like, oh, let's travel overnight, you just don't have that much say. But at the same time, there's increasingly more people that are dependent on the supercharger network, not just for long distance traveling, but for day-to-day charging. I know with Tesla selling lower price car with the Model 3 and the Model Y now, there's just all the people that are like in apartments or in condominium that cannot have access to charging, that are now becoming Tesla owners, and those people will just like once a week go to the supercharger station for an hour or two and get their charge there. So for those people, they might have a little bit more say over when they're going to charge, and if they want to get up a little bit earlier or charge later at night, then this might be a good solution for them.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like maybe construction or something else happening as well. It's
weird.
It's so isolated.
Like right? Well, it's a select few, but it might be also a select few just for the place where the demand charges are very high. Because I do know, like, San Diego is one of them. San Diego's demand charges are very high, and on Northern California, some places too, it's pretty high. So it might be just for that too. That's why it's just some limited places.
It's also interesting. COVID's going way up everywhere. People aren't really supposed to be traveling so much.
Yeah. So. Well, they're not listening to that. That's why the COVID cases are up. People are traveling.
That's why.
The Tesla Energy Plan officially launched in the UK this week too. I thought it was worth mentioning. I mean, it's been around for a while under Octopus Energy, but Tesla sent out an email to a lot of Tesla owners in the UK this week to officially launch the program. So maybe it was like a kind of a beta testing before. And the idea is basically a virtual power plant, which is something we've seen Tesla done in other places. They have one, of course, in Australia. This one that's supposed to be massive in the next few years with like 50,000 people. But there's also one with Green Mountain Power. Is that in Vermont? Is that the name? The idea is pretty simple. Like you install a Powerwall and solar, and then you let the utility access some of that power that you deploy, that you own, and they give you either money back, but in this case, it's not money back. It's a discounted rate on the rest of your electricity. More specifically, do I have the rates here? I did. Here. Okay, so it's available to people that have Powerwall and solar and a Tesla vehicle, or you can just have a Powerwall and solar. So for people with a Tesla vehicle, it's cheaper at is that 8 pence? What was the cents here
Yeah,
in pounds? I don't know. Um,
a bunch of slang for it.
yeah, I think it's a pence, 8 pence. I don't know. I'm not sure. Per kilowatt hour, but like the equivalent of a cent to a pound. And 11 for if you don't have a Tesla vehicle. So apparently it's a significant up to 70% discount over a regular electricity rate from a regular supplier in the UK. So it's quite big. And the other advantage too, of course, is you have backup power from the Powerwall and solar if something happened. So a dual advantage: you save money on your electricity rate, and you have backup power through your Powerwall. Also, you charge from your car from the sun, technically. So some of the time, depending on your electricity use. You want to do the Electrify America?
Yeah, sure. So this and the last few episodes of the Electrek Podcast is brought to you by Electrify America. EA is the nation's largest coast-to-coast electric vehicle charging network, with stations every 70 miles on average along major highway routes and full of ultra-fast 350 kilowatt chargers for capable electric vehicles, which is just the Porsche right now, but more are coming. They are dedicated to providing electric vehicle drivers with the speed, security, and freedom they deserve, like freedom from range anxiety, freedom from boredom as they wait too long for a charge, and of course, freedom of the open road. Even if that open road is just the one nearby. They believe in electric feature just like you. If you're an electric vehicle driver or wondering what it's like to be one, find out what they're up to at electrifyamerica.com. That's electrifyamerica.com. Electrify America, hello freedom.
Yes, hello freedom. All right, in non-Tesla news, this one got me excited a little bit. We heard about this idea for like a conversion kit, electric vehicle conversion kit from GM last year. They introduced it in this like hot rod pickup truck that they showed at SEMA. But they said that it was more of a concept. They didn't exactly say that they were going to bring it to market. Now they confirmed it. They are bringing it to market. It's called the eCrate, or the Electric Connect and Cruise package, and it's going to be sold under Chevrolet Performance. So it uses Chevy Bolt EV technology. So you have the Chevy 60 kilowatt hour battery pack with the 200 horsepower electric motor. It comes with the inverter, the power converter, all the wiring harness, controller, water pumps, battery management system, and everything. So the idea is like an all-in-one kit to convert an electric vehicle, and it's gonna come in the later half of next year. They're not talking about pricing just yet, so that would be nice to know about that. But that's still, it's nice to have like a major OEM getting on board with that. I know that there's a bunch of companies that are trying to simplify electric vehicle conversion, but that might lower the cost really. Again, we haven't heard of the cost just yet, but I have a feeling it might. They also talked about the Ultium battery system, so the one that's going to power all the new vehicles from GM, starting with the Hummer EV and the Cadillac Lyric and all those vehicles. They're saying that they might use that for like a more higher performance one, because of course, like the Bolt EV is not the most powerful electric vehicle out there, but still you can get some decent conversion out of it. And they unveiled this 1977 Blazer, which
That's nice.
yeah, it looks pretty cool. I mean, the Blazer was always a cool vehicle. Now to have it electric like that, it's and you see the Chevrolet sign with the EV stuff. That's pretty clever, right there. And I mean, you have the old school interior here, the red interior of the Blazer, and inside of it you have this is the inverter. you have the electric motor underneath, and look at the battery pack. I mean, of course, they haven't like completed it just because it's a showcase of the conversion here, but you could close that in and everything, and have like a full cargo section for the vehicle here. But I think it's nice.
Yeah, it would be nice if they could close that in. I'm surprised they weren't able to find a place underneath the vehicle for the battery.
I think they're going for like simplicity, like the
Right.
easiest that you can do. So they just bolted into the platform of the back here.
Are they actually taking out the gas stuff, or are they just leaving it?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they. I mean, at least take it out. Like well, they had to take out the engine for sure. Like
Right.
we see the motor underneath and the inverter here that's taking all the space for it. I mean, it's never gonna be as good as a car that's been built from the ground up to be electric, of course. But still, a lot of people. Those cars are still out there. If there's and the Blazer was known to be robust, like with having good longevity too. So if it works, it's good recycling to be able to do that.
Yeah. So, and this thing is going to have 200 horsepower, which is not amazing for a truck that size, but
Yeah,
it's not horrible either. It'll be basically a Chevy Bolt in a truck form factor.
yeah, and I mean less efficient, of course, because of the form factor.
And right, the wind resistance on that is not anywhere.
Yeah, no, but at 60 kilowatt hour, like you should get 100 miles out of it. I would think.
It's also interesting that they're using the 60 kilowatt Chevy Bolt motor because in 2020 it went up to 66 kilowatt
Oh
hours.
yeah, right.
So I wonder if they're using an old, unused older pack or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Didn't think of that. All right, let's still on the subject of trucks. Chrysler finally confirmed that they're coming out with an electric Ram pickup truck. I mean, the race, yeah, the race to make an electric pickup truck has started a while ago. We know a lot of people are after it. I mean, obviously Tesla Cybertruck, you have the Rivian, you have Ford, GM with the Hummer EV. Though, I mean, they're going for a different market. Several others too. Chrysler was a lot more reticent in getting into the race. Just a few months ago, they were like, "Yeah, I don't know," but now with the earnings this week, the CEO Mike Manley said that they're gonna come with. He scares me a little bit with the electrified pickup truck, but I mean, at this point, if he comes up with an hybrid, he announced an hybrid, like he's gonna. Like, it's over. Like you can just write off
Right.
Ram at this point if they're not. I would assume with everyone else working on all electric, he meant all electric here, and he was asked about all electric pickup trucks. So that was in response to this question. So he said, "Stay tuned. We're gonna have announcements. We're gonna be there with an electrified Ram pickup."
I wonder if that's going to use some of the stuff from the Jeep line. Jeep's got a couple plug-in hybrids. They got a couple rumored EVs down the pike.
I know, not a rumor. They did green light a Jeep electric last year, I think, a whole electric.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still early in the process, I think so. But yeah, you're right. Maybe they were able to use that. Makes sense. All right, told you news cycle was pretty slow this week for electric vehicles, so we can jump right into the questions right now if you guys have any.
All right, and add some more. There's plenty here, but we'd love to hear everything you guys have to ask. Jonathan Root says, will Tesla scrap the current charge for FSD in favor of a cost-sharing model for Robo taxi?
I'm not sure I understand that question, to be honest.
So I think they want it. They think, or he's asking if Tesla would like to get more money from the taxi service. Since you don't own your car, and if it's being used as a taxi.
So you mean you put your car on the Tesla network taxi service, and you don't have to pay for the autopilot if you do that? They just Tesla going to charge you a little bit more of the percentage,
right?
Than if you own the FSD feature. I mean, that makes sense, I think, for people that are willing to do that.
Yeah, I think they've got to.
You get it when you're not using it on the Tesla network if you do that, though?
Do do you get use of your car?
Use of the FSD.
Oh yeah, you would have to. I mean, otherwise, why even do it? Um, but
But you have to create two different tiers in the Tesla network if you do that.
right,
You have to create a tier for people that already bought the features, even people that buys it now at $10,000. They need to have some advantage over people that never bought that and just put them on the Tesla network without having paid for the FSD. I
yeah,
mean, you create a lot of complexity with Tesla's. I know we pissed off a lot of people this week when we called it a Kickstarter campaign. It wasn't just everyone. Come on.
I feel like more people loved the joke than
Yeah, I got a lot of messages from people too that thought it was funny and everything. But oh boy, the Tesla super fans, this is a new low for Electrek, and
I know. I love the people who like every time something like this happens, they're like, "We're never coming back." Like, well, how did you even find out about it then?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. So anyway, I think Tesla's got to make more models, more like payment models for the autopilot, because they've already talked about a subscription service. I think that's a good model.
yeah.
So
Was supposed to come this year, by the end of this year, and now Elon pushed it last week to next year.
yeah, and like it is kind of starting to feel like a Kickstarter, like no joke, like
delays, which Kickstarter is known for, paying ahead of time.
Right. I mean, you're paying for something now that like you're taking a gamble on whether it ships and how good it is when it ships. So,
well, my biggest gripe with it all is like this latest price increase was too early. We had one just a few months ago for $1,000. Okay, there was new features coming out. That's fine. Now there's another one for $2,000, and the justification for it is that we just released a limited beta to a handful of owners in the U.S. To be fair, the price increase is just in the U.S., but still, not everyone that has FSD in the U.S. has the new update, which is just in beta too. And I mean, from what we're seeing too, it's like, yes, it has some impressive capabilities, but it's you have to be super vigilant on it too. So the value of it right now, I don't see it much. Like the whole value of autopilot has always been actually reduce your stress. Like you
Right.
you keep on the lookout and everything, but you don't have to do any inputs. You just correct when you have to. This one,
it's like letting your 16-year-old drive. Like,
yes, and you're
is that really
backseat, like what?
Is that less stressful than just driving yourself? I don't think so.
Yeah, you have to be this ultra vigilant backseat driver, basically.
Right.
To it.
It's like what my wife must go through when I drive, because she's always worried about just like it's amazing that I'm still alive somehow. Let's go to the next question. All right, Jonathan kind of follows up with.
Can you put it on the screen? The question.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
So the second part was very few will be participating in Robo Taxi with the high cost to entry. I don't know. I think a lot of people will be, but it's going to be interesting to see like if Tesla can get enough people to participate in the thing. I mean, for me, like I'm not super excited about letting my car be used by other people. I mean, we've mentioned it before, but like people are kind of gross. Like there's a camera inside, but like, like there's that Seinfeld episode where they can't get the stink out of the car. There's like, people farting in your car. Like it's just kind of gross. Like people are gross. And, I don't think everybody wants like to let their car out, especially with them not in it. Like it's almost safer. Like if you're in an Uber, people, aren't going to wipe their boogers on the side of the, thing. But like if you're just, in a car with nobody else in it, like there's some gross people out there. That's my point.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
All right. Luke Miller, hi. Are there any photos confirming the heat pump in Model 3 yet? Geez, I don't even know if I've seen that. I mean, I think...
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to like remove the whole front to see it. So a lot of people just are not gonna do that. But yeah, Tesla confirmed it.
Yeah.
For 2 new owners, so it's confirmed. I don't know if you absolutely need to see it.
Coach DA asked, do you think FOMO, fear of missing out, is the reason people react so dramatically to the Tesla full self-driving price changes? If it is too high, don't buy it. Yeehaw. But what if it's really amazing and I didn't get it? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's what's so frustrating
That's what
because,
they're bidding on, really.
yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I mean,
That's how Kickstarter works too. Like
right.
all the Kickstarter campaign, the marketers that are behind it, and right now it's a whole business being a Kickstarter marketer. Like if you have a Kickstarter right now, you get people gonna reach out to you like, hey, let me improve your page here. You have to do that, to do that, to do that to be good on Kickstarter. And the whole thing around it is like you have to instill that fear in people that if they don't participate in the Kickstarter, they're gonna miss out. And normally they miss out on the price, they miss out on like, oh, it's gonna be sold out or whatever. So yeah, this Tesla is clearly taking a page out of that here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Do we really need a picture? I think he's talking about the Octavalve. Some believe Tesla's long-term plan is to operate many of their own robo-taxis, so if people opt out, that's fine.
Yeah, Elon confirmed that there's going to be a Tesla fleet and a customer fleet, and Tesla's going to increase the Tesla fleet in places where people are not as likely to put their car in the customer fleet. Yeah, that's confirmed.
Tesla wants to ramp up robo-taxi as fast as possible. Lots of missed revenue if they go it alone. Obviously they first have to get regulatory approval, and before that they have to get their software up to snuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, people need to be ready to see a very fragmented market for that. Like, I mean, so some people are already getting approval in places like in California. Cruise recently got approval, Waymo in Phoenix. So there's already precedent. Like Tesla is going to be actually following in the footstep of those people, of those other companies, on that front. But there still works even just to do that, even to show those regulators that, hey, our system is also capable of doing that. I mean, they're clearly not there yet. Tesla's hope is that once they're going to be able to do that in one market, they're going to be able to do it in a lot more market than those two competitors that I just mentioned, which is fair based on the approach. But again, the first one is they still haven't nailed that yet. So the million robo taxis by the end of the year, I think we can scratch that into another missed deadline for Elon. That's quite obvious at this point. But by the end of next year,
maybe
we'll see.
All right, it sounds like my microphone's only working on the left ear, probably because I moved everything around and something came loose or something. So
it's weird. Like I have you in my right here.
Okay, so I got to figure out what happened there. I checked the settings; everything seemed normal, but we'll figure it out. All right. A lot of pro FSD people seem to be assuming that most FSD buyers will be willing to take part in robotaxi. I would not put my personal Tesla into the fleet, even though I like the idea of full self-driving. Right. That's kind of, I think, that makes a lot of sense. We talked about that a little bit earlier.
But keep in mind that Tesla's going to have a cool feature that lets you choose who you lend your car to. So I probably won't put it in my fleet, but I don't use my car that much because like I work from home and I'm a homebody and everything. So what I'm going to do though, I'm going to let my friends and family use my car. Like I already I have a friend using my Model X. I have my parents using my Model S. So
now you'll get money for it though.
No, not necessarily. Like I don't charge my friend and my parents to use my car, but I think it's a cool thing. Like I'll just like I know that those people are driving on electric instead of driving gas. That's okay for me now, but Rich should keep that in mind too. Maybe he doesn't want to let stranger get into his car, but the Tesla network is going to allow you to let friends and family, and that's good too. And yes, I would assume that Tesla could build in a cost sharing thing for that too, so that like now you can say let's buy a car just between a group of friends or a family and everything like that, and just share it because the price, the use rate might make sense with the price.
All right, Igor Grubesic says you have written that Tesla share might drop to 12%. On the first face, it sounds reasonable, but can you elaborate on your reasoning? I don't remember writing that
I
anywhere.
wrote that,
I don't know.
Igor. I never wrote that.
It seems to me that
I never get. If you see some stock price prediction for that are being assigned to me, allegedly, it's wrong. I've never given a price prediction in my life. I think. Um, what I did wrote recently is that Tesla's market share might drop to 12%. That might be what he's referring to.
oh yeah.
I wrote that today. Yeah, I mean, people again. I mean, the Tesla super fans are so susceptible. It's crazy. I wrote that today, and I'm like, oh, Fred says that he's spreading fear and what's the fifth UD thing? Fear,
FUD, uncertainty, doubt.
doubt. Yeah, it was a positive article about Tesla. I'm seeing that they're going to get a smaller piece of a bigger pie. That's what I'm saying. Right now, they have an 18% market share of the entire electric vehicle industry, PHEV and BEV, to be fair. Um, they have a bigger piece of the BEV pie, but that's a smaller pie.
Right. But when BEVs are everything.
Yeah. So my point is that 80%, 18% share is going to go down next year as more EVs are going to into the market. But Tesla's deliveries, I believe they're going to go up. I believe they're going to grow maybe 50%, maybe even more than 50%, maybe 60% next year. They're going to grow the deliveries. So, but I'm saying even with that, I think their market share is going to go down because of Volkswagen coming with the ID3, ID4. Those are going to be high volume vehicles. I mean, I think within a month they already sold like 14,000 ID3s. Of course, they had like a big backlog here of deliveries, so that helps for sure. But the ID4 is going to be a bestseller in my opinion. So if they do ramp up nicely production next year, they're going to sell everything they can make with the ID4. I'm very very hopeful about the ID4. And yeah, so it's just going to be a smaller piece of a bigger pie, but deliveries are going to grow entirely. So I don't know why people are worried about that.
Yeah, and so what does Volkswagen or Toyota have of the global like car market share? It's not 10%, is it?
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like even at 12%, if it was 12% of the entire industry, it would be massive. Tesla would be
Right. Biggest car company in the world.
yeah, by far. So yeah, there's nothing bad about that. I mean, I do believe that Tesla's market share in the next 10 years is going to go even further down, like down below 10%. But they still that could still mean millions, of course. So.
All right. Perlowski Sebastian asks, guys, can I charge my car on the Electrify America network? Would love to use it. Well, if you have fast charging, they do CHAdeMO and they have the CCS combo. And if you have a Tesla, you can use a CHAdeMO adapter. So there's a pretty good chance. We don't know what kind of car he has, but pretty good chance that Electrify America will charge his car. Adam Woodward says, honestly, driving without regen is pretty awful. I'm in full agreement with Adam. It's crazy that like when you go down a hill in a non regen car, you're just generating heat on your brakes. It seems like insanity to me. Obviously in an internal combustion car, there's nowhere for that energy to go. I guess they could put the alternator on the wheels at some point. Maybe they'll do that, but we're pretty late in the ICE game. Let's see. Rob Vogel, thoughts on Elon's comments about the future of the classic EV skateboard design? I'm not sure. Did you hear any comments about that? What are the potential downsides of a structural cell pack?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's referring to like does Elon believing that we need to move to the structural cell pack design. I mean, it looked like the idea made a ton of sense to me when he presented it to at the Battery EV Day. But yes, there are some downsides, and his comments about what happens in a crash. He did say that there's crash rails that are removable. You can cut them out.
But then you have to like bolt them on, or that seems kind of weird.
So look, what we need is Tesla to build those, because it doesn't exist yet apparently. So we need Tesla to build them and crash test them. We're gonna see then. Like it's like anything. It's a new technology. We need to be. I mean, it's a big change for the auto industry for sure. Like no one has ever built a car like that. So we need to be careful with it. But we need to try it out, because if it does work, if it is sound and not too costly in case of an accident, then it has a tremendous advantage in terms of efficiency and weight.
Yeah, and the other question is, like, if a module goes bad, can you still pull it out? Can you replace it right now? Or a cell goes bad. I guess there's no modules on the new design, but if a cell goes bad or a couple cells go bad, do you have to replace the whole thing? Is it recyclable? All right. Next question. Let's see. Question: with Tesla home products, i.e., solar, battery, HVAC, is it time for Tesla home modular houses that can integrate it all and feature products, change layouts by pushing walls around? I think we need to get to the next phase first. Like the HVAC system would be a good one. I think Tesla could also probably innovate in the circuit box. When the power goes out, flips the switch, automates all that stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Elon's been talking so much about Tesla producing an HVAC system and also water heater and everything that I think it's going to come at some point. But it was clear last month that, it was earlier this month, that they don't have a prototype for that yet. So I wouldn't hold my breath for it. It wouldn't be
idea
next
stage
year that they were going to launch that. But yeah, I mean, Tesla is the startup company. They are like an agglomeration of a bunch of startups, and I do think we're gonna see own product startup, because they are all, like you said, like Black Diamond said, like it all links together well. Like if you're gonna go into a house to put like solar panel and a battery pack in and Powerwall and everything, it makes sense to, at the same time, they could redo your HVAC and whatnot. So yeah, I agree with that.
All right. John Smith. GM got one technology from Nikola for their Hummer EV, CGI. What a joke. I still hope to use a Hummer for half price. I will assure you that depreciation will be 50% 2 years used. I think he's referring to the fact that GM didn't have a fully working Hummer prototype for the YouTubers to look at.
No, but it's not even that. So the actual thing, because I mean, they have display prototype that is drivable. Is just not like it's not equipped with the lithium battery system, and that in it's not like it doesn't do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and everything that GM promised. Yeah, they don't have that yet, but they do have a bench. What do you call it? A bench work battery and motor for the truck. They just haven't everything combined together. So what this whole thing came out of was and I can't believe I'm the one defending GM here. It's in the video that they produce for the launch. All of that was CGI. To be fair, though, GM was upfront about it. It was written on it and everything. So I wouldn't put them in the same category as Nikola on that front, because Nikola, the whole thing was they're being deceiving about the thing.
Right.
And also we know that GM can bring to market the Hummer. They've brought a market to Hummer before, a Hummer to market. So
right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just kind of how advertising is done now.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of CGI. I mean, like Apple's, iPhones. That's not real iPhones you're looking at. It's all CGI when you look at the ads.
I mean, you see ice cream on an ad, and it's actually like mashed potatoes and
right.
things like that. So like, as long as they're clear about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing though, like the timing wise with the SEMA thing. I wonder if that thing's running off like a Chevy Bolt, like the Hummer the actual Hummer that they're driving around.
It might be, yeah, because you put the 200 horsepower motor in that giant thing, and it won't go fast. Right. And you saw people driving it around for the YouTubers exclusive. We posted one on here this week, and it drove around a little bit and didn't sound like a gas motor. So like people were freaking out, like they just use a whole Hummer and like change things. No, they didn't do that.
John Smith again says, I think they will be way late for delivery. Talking about the Hummer.
Yeah, I don't think they will be. I just think that the edition one is going to be extremely low volume delivery. Like they sold it out in an hour and everything. So I'm pretty sure they're going
What's
to
your
be
number? What's your 1,000?
might be 1,000, might be 1,000. It might be because also they said it's going to start in late 2021, and they only going to deliver the edition one for the whole first year. So it might be more than 1,000, but let's say no more than 1,000 going to be delivered in 2021.
Right. And then you basically have most of 2022 where they're just delivering that one specific model, and it could be like everything else where they don't have that much. So we're not going to see like even like large amounts of those things coming out until late 2022.
Yeah, we're not gonna see one that's less than 100,000 until 2023 at least, maybe even 2024. So
That's crazy. Some non-EV people I know are very excited about the release of the Hummer as well as recent announcement of the Ram EV. That's a good thing.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great thing. Yeah. So those different segments are bringing new people to electric vehicles.
DA, I agree about possibly buying a second car with full self-driving for the Robo taxi network as an investment. But I still assert that FSD does not equal Robo taxi all the time. So yeah, I mean, there's people who think that now is a good time to buy a bunch of Model 3s and get FSD on it, and then in 2 years they'll have, a big money maker.
Yeah, I know the Tesla guys that I bought my Model X from. That's what they were thinking about.
Yeah,
But they were thinking about the Cybertruck because of the cost of the Cybertruck and the fact that he's going to be a 6-seater. They said it's going to be perfect for that because price-wise. But I mean, don't hold your breath for a $40,000 Cybertruck.
Yeah,
I mean, where's the $35,000 Model 3? Like,
right.
we're pretty close to it, to be fair. That's fine, but it's not gonna. It's gonna be like the Hummer. I think Tesla's gonna do it a little bit better. Than again, the rollout is gonna be faster a little bit, but still.
Yeah, and like the prices that were given for the Cybertruck are without full self-driving.
Yeah.
So at least day one, add 10,000, probably a lot more, onto the price, and then yeah, I mean by that time it might be 12, 15, who knows.
But his idea was like he was using these Model X and Model S that were like close to $100,000 a car, and now the Cybertruck was all the same capabilities that he was using because his Model X were 6-seaters too, and now you could do that for like half the price based on the Cybertruck. So that's what he was thinking. But again, if we see, I'd be happy to see $50,000 Cybertruck in 2023.
Yeah. All right. Rich here says perhaps a dual tier, interesting, license model would be better, cheaper for personal use only, and expensive for the Robo taxi network. I don't see that happening just because if it's going to be, if you're going to have a 2-tier system, why doesn't Tesla just take more money from Robotaxi? Like, everybody's going to be paying Tesla, and they could just say, look, we're giving you this much money if you own the license to autopilot, and we're going to give you this much money if you don't own the license to autopilot and you want to do it. I don't think Robotaxi is going to be a rationale for buying or not buying, but who knows?
Unless, like I said, you do like a partnership with friends and family that could.
Right. All right. FSD may also be a very expensive feature that only some people can afford, purchased for no practical reason beyond the fact that they wanted it. I see nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of value for people like, let's say they want to do like long distance. Like let's do. I go from Montreal to New York, and I can just like sleep in the car for 6 hours. Like that's.
Yeah, I mean that's the big draw for me.
Yeah, and that's like a personal vehicle that you have to do with that because then you just move the car over 500 miles and over a border. Like that has to be my car. I feel like I wouldn't let someone else do that with my car.
Right. All right. Galco Ponzi, have you ever seen an EV charging at 350 kilowatts? No. I think we saw a Porsche charge at 270 kilowatt hour.
We saw Porsche prototypes.
Prototypes that did
Yeah,
the
dude,
350.
yeah.
And I think they're going to open that up soon. I think the Audi GTs are also going to have that same capability.
Lucid, 900 volts. Do they do 350? I think they might do 350.
Yeah, and I think GM said the Hummer was going to charge at 350. One of these days. All right, cars, 2 sets of batteries, one charging while one working. Are they lithium polymer packs? I'm very new to this function. Houses, if they credit you for your production but charge you for used power, means they can store while using. Shouldn't cars be able to operate the same way? It's a little bit confusing.
Yes, it is. How is one charging while the other one is working? What is it charging from?
I guess one is at your house and maybe you're flipping.
Okay. It's a removable battery pack.
Perhaps, yeah.
This battery packs are big and heavy on there, and there you have a lift for it or something like that. Like I've seen a lot of use for it. I've seen that concept in commercial vehicles, like Lion Electric has one for the trucks and school bus. They have this concept where you just remove one battery pack and keep the other one in and exchange them like that. That makes a ton of sense for a commercial vehicle. If you are like a warehouse and you have a lift, you can just literally like pick it up with a lift, and you have just to unplug it. That's a few things. So that makes sense for that, but not for personal consumer vehicles, I think.
Nanda Hole says Transport Evolved said the 77 Blazer V8 had a whopping 185 horsepower. So the Humboldt Bolt zaps it with 200 horsepower.
That doesn't surprise me, actually.
That's true. I keep forgetting that cars have recently.
I mean, it's 77. That was a long time ago.
Right.
And back then, we were just starting the cult of horsepower, like high horsepower.
Is the single motor Model Y still coming this year?
I don't know.
Seems kind of late in the year. I would. The third row is coming, so
yeah.
My guess would be that if Tesla can sell out of its all-wheel drive, then they're not going to make They're not making.
I think we might wait. They might wait for even like Gigafactory Austin producing the Model Y.
Yeah, they're not in a hurry to make a cheaper Model Y.
Because once that happens, once they do have that, then they need a lot of demand for the Model Y because they have production capacity in Fremont, in Texas, and soon in Berlin too. So,
Brian Bull says I'm confused with the Electrify America chargers are every 70 miles. That's better than the Tesla supercharger network. I think it's every 70 miles on major
highway. Yeah,
right.
And also, to be fair, they do tend to have fewer charge points per station than Tesla.
Right, Tesla has quite a few.
They are starting to increase the number of charge points, but not that much.
Look at the EA map. What happened to Bradley Berman? Bradley's now contributing, and there hasn't been a lot going on in the contributing area, so we hope to hear from him soon.
Yeah, he's not full-time anymore.
Let's see. PlugShare is a good way to compare networks. That's a good point. We use PlugShare quite a bit. They're not all 350, Brian. I think a lot of them are those. Strangely, a lot of them are, but they're not putting out 350 even if they say they are. Yet, at some point in the future they could. All right. Key phrase is up to 350. Yep.
Yeah, you don't get that for long.
How soon
in the future?
How soon after level 5 will driver's licenses be required? That's an interesting question. Like, could
How
I just
soon after level? What does that mean?
when
Like,
you have level 5 autonomy, do you really even need a driver's license?
oh yeah.
I mean, could I just throw my kid in the back and say go to school?
Yeah, I mean that's the idea eventually, I guess. But
Right.
I mean, yeah, there's the whole idea that you might like they won't even be driver license. Like not only people won't seek them, like we will consider people that have driver license so much higher risk than people that don't drive and have self-driving car that they might not exist.
Yeah, it's I mean, a lot of people think driving is going to be like like riding a horse.
Yeah.
It's like a pleasure thing instead of an actual getting somewhere. Do you see the Tesla stock closed at 420 on Wednesday and Thursday? Yeah, it's strangely seems to be holding there, although it's down now.
No, it's down a lot today because of the entire market is down.
Right.
Those COVID cases are scaring people. It's about time.
It's crazy. I don't get it. Like, we've known about this COVID thing for a while. It doesn't seem like we've figured it out. Anyway, good point about friends and family, but I personally wouldn't want to monetize that. 100,000 FSD that I don't monetize makes no sense, but granted, a case could be made for 100,000 Robotaxi enabled FSD. Not much we could say there. Eli Meyer says cells will not be able to be salvaged and repurposed if structurally bonded.
Yes and no. Not repurposed, not second life. That's for sure. But they can be recycled.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the way to think about it is like it's just one big module now instead of
exactly. And Tesla has always been more about recycling than repurposing. They've been clear about that. They're like, we want because most of the repurposing is for stationary storage, and Tesla is like, we already have pretty good products for that, so we prefer to sell the new one and just recycle for the materials.
The EV skateboard structurally is the same as a body over frame structure. All right.
Yeah.
Tesla takes reservation for an actual working prototype. Other companies take reservations for CGI. Okay. Getting a little bit fanny here. Yeah. Can you imagine the blowback if Tesla tried to take reservations for CGI? Well, I mean, like, how long has the Roadster been out? Like, people put $250,000 on that, and they made one of them.
And Elon is on record saying that, like, it's a joke making a prototype, and production is everything and everything. So, like, how different that is, really. But I would give that to Tesla, though. It's fair that they not only like GM had a Hummer EV prototype, they just didn't have the capacity that they were talking about for the production version.
Right.
Tesla does have that capacity to a degree, though. They did say that the production version is going to have even a higher capacity than this, but they do, like the Roadster, like you were in it. You did the 1.9 seconds, so that's great. I give Tesla a big kudos for that.
Yeah, and GM is not a CGI company. They're clearly into production.
Yeah, because I mean, they're kind of asking for it, though, the whole Nikola comparison, since they partner with them. So at the same time, I'm not gonna like jump to defend them exactly.
Right. So the guy who was asking about Electrify America is using a Tesla, so you need to have a Tesla adapter. Right now, the only adapter they have is a CHAdeMO to Tesla, which charges at 50 kilowatts. It's not super fast, but it works. I've done it a few times. The adapter is kind of expensive. I think last time I checked it was around $400. But in Europe, they have for Model S and Model X, they have a CCS combo to Tesla adapter, and I believe those charge at like over 100, 200 kilowatts, something like that. So it would be nice if Tesla announced or released something like that in the US. It's kind of strange, actually. They haven't.
Yes, it is. I've been talking about that for so long. It's crazy.
I know, it's strange. Seth, the Roadster is not CGI. That's a good point. I wasn't riding around in CGI.
Yeah, he was in it. He knows it's not CGI. What he meant is like it's still like not in production. So whether they have a prototype or not, like the delay between when you start taking reservation and bring the car in, that's still important. I mean, the failure of the Roadster is like Tesla has been taking like $200,000 plus reservation for it, and not telling people when they're gonna deliver those. That's the point we're saying. Like even if you have a prototype for that, the process can still be a disappointing one for people.
How many people do you think still have? Tesla still has their $250,000.
So at one point I hear that Tesla was refunding those, but I haven't been able to confirm it with more than one person. One person told me that he got a refund for it without asking for it.
Interesting.
And that would make sense because Tesla doesn't have a clear path to production at this point. More recently, Elon has been hinting as like an 18-month timeline or something, but he hasn't been clear about it. Like, tell us when it's gonna come. But for people that have reservation for it, it's crazy. Put $200,000 down and not even know around when you can have that car who's already been delayed.
All right, one last question from Jonathan Root. Will Cybertruck's structural battery be replaceable? Is the 1,000,000-mile battery pack going to be a thing by then, and thus replaceability not a factor?
Well, that's what we were just talking about. It doesn't sound like it could be replaceable.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could replace the whole thing, like the old battery swap. But yeah, I guess we'll find out. That's all the questions today.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, everyone, for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you like the show, you can give us a thumbs up. That's always appreciated. Give us a subscribe to know when the next episode is coming out, which is, of course, always on Fridays. But we're looking now for maybe adding some interviews and stuff like that on the show and promote some people and things like that. So if you have some suggestions, you can let us know. We'll look into it. Yeah, if you're watching on your podcast app, you can give us a 5-star review there. That always helps us a lot. And subscribe there to download the next episode when it comes out. And we're gonna see you same place, same time next week. Have a good one.